Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Venkat Atluri on the show, and he is CEO and managing partner over at Atluri Ventures, and this episode is part of our iConnections Miami series, where we bring you the best of those that attended and participated in iConnections, which took place in Miami. Venkat, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. Glad to be here.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. I love this topic. Who will capture the economic upside of the AI revolution? Highly relevant and one of my favorite things to get into. But before we do that, iConnections Miami. Have you been before? Have you been part of the iConnections conference and I should say ecosystem in the past, or are you just getting started? Give us some of the background, please.
Yeah, I did. We attended, my partner and I attended, with a few of our team members, attended iConnections for the first time in Miami this year. It was great. It was great. We had a chance to connect with iConnections, no pun intended, connect with really some good past friends and made new friends in investor community, and also good friends and past friends and new friends in VC community. And then we also met with some founders as well. So overall, it's a pretty good group of people, a very productive couple of days that we spent with them.
Yeah, I like that word that you used too, productive. And this was our first year covering the conference too, and I was just highly impressed. I'm like, wow, I've been hearing about it for a while. I'm like, all right. So I finally went out and I've been covering it, and I'm like, I was pleasantly surprised. And I know you've been to, obviously in your career, many different conferences and other things like that. Like in terms of the productivity or just in general, like what made this a little bit different, a little bit special? I love talking to someone that's there for the first time. Like what made it different for you?
So a couple of things. First, the ability to meet with many people in a very short period of time was very, very efficient. You know, when you go out on the road show, you may get, a meeting here, a meeting there, and then lots of dead time in between. Here, we were able to get back-to-back meetings for 2 days. And that was very, very efficient. That's what made it very, very, very attractive for us. The second is, Adam, we also were able to find some very rich people with that had interesting backgrounds where we can have some rich conversations, whether it's a conversation about what's going on in AI space, but the conversation about where they're investing, or the conversation about where the founders are really getting excited about where they want to spend their time and where we could invest. So all those broad set of topics were really, really productive in terms of our ability to connect with a lot of these different constituents in a very short period of time.
Yeah, I have to agree. The efficiency, the people, the quality of that, I have to echo that. I was pleasantly surprised, honestly. Let's switch it up a bit here. Let's start with, tell me a little bit more about Atluri Ventures. Tell me about the firm.
So we are a venture capital firm focused primarily on AI. And we have a deep background in different technology evolutions. We were deep in mobile, deep in cloud, and now we're very deep in AI. So our focus, the areas that we invest in, our focus is really in three parts. One, we focus on solving fundamental problems that are getting in the way of AI adoption, AI's ability to drive productivity and growth. And then these fundamental barriers could be power consumption, it could be cost, it could be adoption, and things that are preventing from adoption to go really fast. So we call the first part of where we invest in is the technology enablers that overcome these barriers to AI growth. That's one part of what we do. Second part of what we do is these enablers would go in and disrupt the vertical markets, whether it's the hospitality market, whether it's the transportation market, whether it's the industrial market. So a huge opportunity to go disrupt and create a ton of value. So we go and find companies that invest, that are really trying to disrupt these verticals. And then across these two areas, we believe there's a huge amount of value creation that would happen and sustainable value creation that happen with platforms and ecosystems. Platforms, when we say platforms, what we mean is it's a digital or physical foundation that provides a set of standardized capabilities and interfaces that others can use to build services, products on top of them. And typically platforms will have network effects, and they can build ecosystems around them. And then we've seen that we've been part of building these platforms, and we really are very excited about finding ways to find these AI platforms that could really create and sustain long-term value. And ecosystems are essentially interconnected businesses that built around these platforms, and typically by collaborating with different constituents that use the platform.
Talk to me about, I like that word value. Talk to me about value creation and who you see as being maybe poised or some of the winners that are going to be, in the right place to capture this value in this whole AI race.
So if you look at where we are today with AI race, and if you ask the broader question, Adam, where is value accruing today and where is it going to accrue going forward? We believe lots of this value actually is going to get accrued to consumers like you and I. And because we were able to use AI to be a lot more productive, we're able to use AI to perhaps, reduce some of what we spend on in certain areas. And so that's, consumers are a huge beneficiary of this. The value will accrue to them. The second part of the value creation, and especially going forward, we believe is going to happen to companies and, entities and agencies that truly focus on developing platforms. And I just gave you the definition of a platform, but that definition, and companies that can really latch on to, and not just build a product, but build a platform around the product. And I'll just give you an example. When you say platforms, Uber is a great platform. They have a piece of software, and then with the piece of software, you can have on one side, drivers can log in and, be available. On the other side, they have people like you and I the riders can go and, connect to the drivers and get the service. So Uber created this really interesting platform. On top of the platform, they also created this ecosystem of drivers, ecosystem of, users, ecosystem of other partners that can make use of the platform. So that we believe, companies that can develop platforms and develop ecosystems around them are the ones in the long run that could really capture most of this value. I'll give you one other example, Adam, before move on to the other topics. If you look at what happened to value creation in the last 3 or 4 decades, if you look at just use top 10 market cap companies in 80s, 90s, 2000s, and now, in the last 2 to 3 decades, you will see that more and more of those top 10 companies will have some sort of a platform business.
Yeah.
Whether it's, in social media, whether it's in mobility, whether it's in, hardware and then hardware software systems, you see that interesting trend. We believe that value creation, value capture trend will continue with AI, even more pronounced way.
That's so interesting to me. And looking at, I like your Uber example, and as you're saying that, I'm thinking about like AI and how that relates. What excites you specifically in AI? Like, what are you seeing? It could be, and by the way, it can be developments, it could be platforms, it could be otherwise, but just what comes to mind when I ask you that question? What excites you right now in AI?
So the top of mind for me, when you say what excites us, is physical AI. So there's been lots of talk, in the last 2-3 years, or maybe even 4 years now, about LLMs, large language models, and agents, and how agents are going to disrupt, software. And even if you follow the market very closely, in the last 3 or 4 months, software has taken a pretty big beating because of all the developments with vibe coding and agents, etc. And while that's going on, I think the area that I'm personally very excited about is the physical AI. And what do we mean by physical AI? This is AI where the robotics part, the humanoids part, and you take the intelligence that's virtual and then embed that intelligence into physical devices. And I think that area is really ripe for lots of innovation and is ripe for massive amounts of disruption. Whether it's, devices that could assist you in every chore, domestic chore you could think of, laundry, cooking, etc., and also all the professional chores that you need. So that area, the reason why we're excited about that is it is still in what we call the lower part of the S curve, and there's a huge amount of opportunity to really drive and make some bets and create some huge amount of value and capture that value. So that's one area. The second area, Adam, that also we're pretty excited about is going back to what I said about vertical market disruptors. And I think each of the, whether it's each of the vertical markets, whether it's the healthcare, whether it's consumer sector, whether it's the, transportation hospitality sector, in all those sectors, we believe AI, there are players that are focused on how do we take every part of the sector and methodically take out cost, improve productivity, improve efficiency, improve customer experience. I think those are the companies that are very focused on doing those things and truly disrupt, the value creation aspects of those sectors really excites us. So for example, in hospitality, when you and I go travel and, log into or check into a hotel or, or do mobility around, wherever we're going, There's lots of opportunity for AI to disrupt every aspect of what we do.
Yeah.
And I think those are the types of areas that we're very, very excited about. Those are the two broad areas come to top of my mind when you ask me that question.
Mm-hmm. What are you looking at when you're looking for companies right now, like to invest in or otherwise, whether it be, from the management team, the founder side of things, or the technology, like just broadly speaking, what are you looking for right now?
So we are really looking for companies that truly are solving some fundamental problems. Going back to what I said about technology enablers, we really want to focus on companies that are targeting areas where they could truly make a difference, whether it's cost, whether it's power consumption, whether it's efficiency. And so for us, when a founder comes to us, and the first question we'll ask the founder is, what problem are we trying to solve? And then at that point, we'll ask the question, okay, is that problem worth solving? Is the problem in the domain of the problems that we think are worth solving? Mm-hmm. So that's what we look for. And once we get conviction that that founder has, is targeting a problem that's really worth solving, then we get into the market aspects and say, okay, which markets can that problem be really applicable? The solution can be really applicable. And we'll see if there's a potential but that's that solution to really disrupt that vertical market. And then along the way, lastly, tying it all together, right? Going back to platforms and ecosystems. Can we create, the idea that the founder has? Can we create a platform, not just a product, but a platform and ecosystem around it? And if we have a clear problem that's been solved and a clear application that we can have in a particular vertical market, and then you can really create, a platform and ecosystem around them, that's a really, we call that like our target zone. Obviously, we won't get all three of them at every time, but sometimes we get one or we get two of the three. And, when we get three of the three, we get very, very excited. We get a lot of conviction for those.
Yeah, I think that is exciting to me. And what I like about what's happening now is that things are moving so fast. It's fun. And it's fun for me to watch. I'm not in the trenches like you, but I get to tell the stories and hear the stories. So I have many of those founders coming out here telling me about the products, and I'm just like sitting back like, wow, like things will continue to move faster and faster, or at least my perception of what's going on will move faster, one of the two, right? But I just like how things on the back end are starting to work. Things that at one point didn't or were glitchy or weird or this software, everything. It just, to me, it's touching every part of society. And when you said the benefactors are like who benefit the end consumer, I'm looking forward to continuing to benefit, Venkat. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And then, it's music to our ears because as investors, we would like to see this benefit, translate to the, broader set of constituents.
Yeah. So we're recording this just for a quick timestamp. We're going to blink. It's March 26th, and we're heading into, we'll be in Q2 before we know it. We'll blink, right? And we'll be there. What's on your mind as we go into Q2 2026? Let's get a little timestamp on here.
So what's in our mind for Q2? We really are very excited about the developments, not just on the overly hyped, in our view, large language models and agentic aspects of what we get talked about, and then all the software disruption. We get a lot more excited about the practical problems that AI is solving, whether it's in industrial space where, the robotics and other intelligent models, they're not LLM. Maybe they're variation of LLMs, but they're industry-specific or sector-specific models that are trying to solve some specific problems. That really excites us a lot. And similarly, we believe that, if you look at all the power discussions we have and how much power do we need for, lots of the compute that is required, projected to be required. And that's all true, but the areas that we get very excited about is the data. More than power, we get a lot more excited about data. And, there's interesting forecast, depending on whose forecast you believe in. In the next few quarters, we will have exhausted all the data available publicly to train LLMs. So hence, if you really want to make the models a lot more effective and efficient, you have to really look at other sources of data. And sometimes you need to create data, or sometimes you have data that's confidential and proprietary for some companies. So we're very excited about companies that are really going after that data space. And I think the data space is still pretty nascent, and we believe that's just going to have a huge amount of opportunity to create value. And lastly, as I said, right, so full circle. Physical AI devices, and we haven't even seen anything yet in terms of the possibilities.
Man, got me all excited over here, Venkat. This has been great. What if somebody's listening or watching this and they want to learn more about Atluri Ventures? How do they connect with you and your team?
Yeah, it's very easy. So I'm a pretty easy guy to get connected with. So obviously you can go on LinkedIn and connect there. But they can also send me an email. Venkat Venkat at Santuri.com. Santuri.com. Send me an email. I'm happy to engage in with investors, founders, and anybody that wants to talk about the areas that we're very passionate about.
Amazing. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some information in the show notes so that you can connect with Venkat and his team. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me correct, daily. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow button. And Venkat, been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure as well.